This is not a sexy draft. This is a draft where teams are going to add incredibly good players at incredibly important positions, but they're not going to be as much, particularly the quarterbacks, early on Thursday night.
Yeah, Green, I would also caution the Jet fans. Also think about it. You pick at 35 and 38. They basically have 4 first-round picks. I mean, 35 and 38 are starters. They should be if Joe Douglas does his job properly. So, yeah, and I look at this, and in fact, I was talking to Max Kellerman earlier. He's a Giants fan.
Yeah.
He's screaming for Linderbaum at 7.
Yeah.
Okay, we want Linderbaum. Don't let him get to the Jets at 10. He's got to go to the Giants at 7. So you got Giant fans wanting Linderbaum, and then you got Jet fans saying no, but they remember Nick Mangold days, and you got Zach Wilson. It would be nice to pair the great young center with the great young quarterback. Hopefully, I say great young quarterback that Zach develops into that. So, I think you look at Drake London. I had Drake London going 1 pick ahead on a trade up by Cleveland. So if he were there, certainly Drake London would make sense. So, like I say, you write it in pencil, not pen now, Greeny, and it gives you an idea of who may be in a certain area of the draft. Don't worry about where they're going. Just look at the players about where the area you may see them come off the board.
That's the way I look at these early mock drafts, because there's so much of these evaluations that that have to be done, and B, more importantly, free agency hasn't happened yet. Correct. So what we perceive, they send us these packets for those of us doing the draft of teams' needs, and I don't even look at them until after free agency, because all that obviously could change substantially between.
Well, you'll
now
be
and
off and you'll be adding. So that's what you do. You cross off needs and you add needs based on free agency. So the needs become needs maybe in another month that aren't now. And you think you're going to need something, and all of a sudden you solidify that in free agency. Like the Bengals offensive line that you look at and say, they got to do this. They got to do. Let's see what they do in free agency. So you're right, Greeny. Right now it's just an exercise to put players in positions where you think they may go in a certain general area.
Greeny and Mel Kiper Jr. So here is what fans of football need to know. That at the top of this draft, meaning the first, let's call it 5 or 6 picks, we're going to hear the names of a lot of offensive linemen. Yes, for fans who don't know these names, tell them what they are.
Well, Ike Ekwonu from NC State is a tremendous player. If you haven't seen him play, go back. You can find tape on him. Left tackle, played a little guard, but he was a wrestler in high school. Father Nigeria, college basketball player. Just a great kid. He's he dominates as a run blocker, and he got better as a pass blocker to the point where he was phenomenal this year. I kept thinking going into the year, Greeny, I'm going to move him to guard. I might have even back in August projected him to guard, but he was a left tackle all the way. And you have to say, well, you got to be 6'5". You don't have to be. Brad Hopkins had a great career with 6'3.5" coming out of Illinois. So I think you look at Ekwonu, the way he plays the game, how he feels passionate about the game. He said, hey, I'm the best guy out here. There's nobody better than me. I love his confidence. And the way he played for Dave Doran and NC State is the reason why maybe a slight edge, but not much over Evan Neal. Evan Neal's a heck of a player. They could go either way. I talked to Aiden Hutchinson on the phone last night. He's coming from California into the combine. What a great kid he is, and he makes sense for Detroit, who needs a pass rusher. Jacksonville needs one too, but you can't take both Hutchinson and Ekwonu. So you have the franchise quarterback. Maybe their idea is protect them. And Cam Robinson's a free agent. You mentioned free agency. That will dictate what they do. They bring Cam Robinson back. Maybe not. They have Walker Little, former second-round pick last year, was a left tackle, could play right tackle. There's a lot of things going on there that will affect that, but those are your 3 options, the 2 tackles, left tackles, or the defensive end. Yeah,
Ekwonu is a fascinating prospect. His father is a 6'6" doctor who played college basketball in Nigeria. His mother was a high school track star. He has a fraternal twin who plays linebacker at Notre Dame. So, as you can tell, I'm going through your picks and I'm doing my work here. That's my job.
All over it, Greeny.
Well, I joked about this. People ask me all the time, how many players do you study? So I do the first 2 nights. So there will be roughly 100 players because they add the compensatory picks. So we will have roughly 100 players on my 2 nights sitting there with you. And I did about 125 players last year. And I said there were 3 times that the name was announced and the only words out of my mouth were, Mel? And
if you were scrambling, Greeny, I know I was scrambling probably too. I don't know.
You were never scrambling. Mel was never scrambling. Last year, you put on a coat, but you didn't scramble. All right, let me get back to business here. Then there are receivers. And those are sexy players, and there are a bunch of them. You mentioned Drake London. He's the 6'5" kid out of USC. And by the way, I would mention, Mel just said watch tape on these guys. What I have discovered is on YouTube they have highlight reels of every single one of these players. So you can see them easily if you want to. Drake London is a fascinating player to me, Mel.
I know Keyshawn, wants him desperately with the Jets, and you look at his size.
Well,
and
he's even
the
bigger than
basketball.
Keyshawn, right? He's the big receiver out of USC, but he's even bigger than Keyshawn.
And he is good, and he goes, attacks the ball, high points. What he did out there, before he was injured, 88 catches in 8 games, phenomenal player. Now, will he be there for the Jets? Like I said, I had Cleveland moving up to get him because you obviously have players that are going to go. That you talk about the offensive lineman, the safety. We know a great linebacker like Devin Lloyd's going to go, the corner Gardner or Stingley Jr. So there's going to be reasons why some really good players drop just a little bit, and that could happen certainly there. I'll tell you what, there's a couple other receivers that you think, great, second round, Calvin Austin III from Memphis, he might be the fastest player in the draft. He's going to run the 4.3s. He had a great career there. And Sky Moore from Western Michigan, to me, is the most underrated receiver in this draft. Okay, go back and watch Sky Moore at Western Michigan, what he did. Former quarterback, defensive back in high school, who lit it up against Pitt, Northern Illinois, the games I watched. He was unbelievable, Sky Moore was. So, there's going to be other receivers in this draft other than Drake London, and certainly the other guys. We know about Jamison Williams off the injury, but Drake London, as you said, Greeny, is special, and he will be a guy that I think is worth, as I projected, somebody trading up to get.
Very quickly, Jamison Williams, that's a name fans will know because he started at Alabama last year and then tears up his knee in the national championship game, which is a terrible shame. He is so fast. He set the state record in the 300-meter hurdles as a high school kid in St. Louis and was once clocked running 23 miles an hour in a practice at Alabama. But to me, he would have been the first receiver off the board in this draft. Where does he go now that he's got not only did he have an ACL, but he had it in January. So that's the timing.
Yeah, what a shame. Yeah. Absolutely love the kid. I'm about the kid, the way he plays the game, the energy, special teams, how unselfish he is. I would watch other receivers like Mechie the third and catch touchdown, and he would go right over to him. Not disappointed that it wasn't me catching the touchdown pass. Happy that our team is having success and other players are having success.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.